Everybody needs a break sometimes, right? And I think some people are looking for a break in terms of not having to head back to work at the actual office. I'm in the studio as we speak, but we've been transitioning back and working from home some of the time too. But bottom line is, our employer wants us to be here in the studio. So a whole lot of people are back in the office, right? No more working from home. If you haven't been asked to go back yet, it's probably coming. And if you were hoping to keep working from home, well, that might not be as straightforward as you'd like if your employer isn't on board. So how easy is it to find a compromise? Let's find out. Marianne Plamondon is an associate lawyer at Langlois Avocats here in Montreal. She specializes in employment and labor law. You may recall at the beginning of the pandemic, Marianne, we were speaking good grief, at least, twice a week?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was pretty... The rules for employers were changing every day.
Yeah, literally, we couldn't keep... Well, I was going to say we couldn't keep up, except you somehow managed to keep up all the time and keep us informed about it. Was that the most, I don't know, like exhausting or just tumultuous time you've ever had in your work?
Well, it was... It's surprising for everything, but I think it was in every field, no matter which field you work in. It was kind of a surprise every day. New rules, new restrictions, new ways of doing things. So there was a lot of adaptation. And at first it looked totally crazy to send everybody home with their laptop screen and all the IT devices in order for them to do fully their work from home. But let's face it, now people adopted it.
Yeah, and it's working, right? I mean, it had to work because that was the only option we had to be able to continue working safely. Now the option is to go back to the office, but for some people, it's not an option, right? They're being told to go back. What are you seeing? What are you hearing, Marianne?
Well, for sure, right now, like all the employers wants to get back to a balance where there is meetings on site and there's possibility to share ideas and more have interaction with colleagues. But for sure, employees now, their new routine is to stay at home and they're not missing the traffic for sure. Mm-hmm. So a lot of them are thinking, well, I'm being more productive at home, so why wouldn't I stay with that same schedule going forward? That being said, it is in a management right for the employer to decide whether the employee has to go back to work and how many days per week. And every employer is kind of trying to find the right balance. Some employers have decided to go for 5 days a week back at home, at work. But for sure, this is really risky because we are in a worker shortage. And for sure, the employee that is not happy with that decision might look somewhere else and find another employment. So it's very delicate for employers to say and start back at 5 days a week because for sure employees are expecting, especially if they did deliver the work during the pandemic and have been super productive, they don't understand why go back to work 5 days a week. So it's important for employer to explain the rationale before actually deciding to bring everybody back and see what are the right motives to put forward in order to get the employees really motivated to go back to a certain extent to the office. But it's all a question of balance. Mm-hmm. And for sure, right now, although the employers have full rights to decide to bring back the employees, at the end, the employers are still in a very delicate situation because if they do so, there will be some resignation. And, right now to find another employee to replace an employee that resigned, it's not easy.
So let's give a scenario. Like, let's say that someone has been asked to come back full time. The employee is willing to go back, say, 2 to 3 days a week, but they don't want to be going back the whole time. The employer's made it clear why it's important to them. The employee has also made their case, right, Marianne, about why it's better for them. They save money. They're more productive, better life-home balance, whatever it might be. Who's ultimately in a better position here to negotiate? The workers, given the labor shortage, or the employees, given that, or the employers rather, given that they call the shots?
Well, the employer is calling the shot on how many days and how much it's possible to stay at home. But like I said, at the end, if the
Oh, did we just lose
If
Marianne?
the employee refuses to go back and decides to go somewhere else and work somewhere else, the employer might never find someone to replace the employee. So that's very difficult for the employers right now. So that's why a lot of employers, before implementing a return to work or a full return to work, they're doing an opinion to get the opinion of employees, and they're trying to get by a survey, how employee feels about it, what they think would be most productive and most useful to the team in order to keep the productivity, but also keep some possibility to share ideas and have some time to discuss with colleagues, because that's for sure the thing that is more lacking right now, as people have stayed home for so long. It was not that easy to work in team and share ideas and find maybe better ways of doing things.
We're speaking to Marianne Plamondon, a lawyer who specializes in employment and labor law. Are you seeing cases, or are you anticipating a lot of cases, Marianne, where people are saying like no one was accommodating or I was wrongfully dismissed? What are you seeing and what are you anticipating?
Well, right now, most employees, I think are aware that they don't have a right in order to refuse to go back to work if the employer asks. Most of them actually resign, So the question is more, how far do we need to go in order to accommodate the employee? A lot of them have said, my life has gotten better. I have a better work-life balance. I see my kids more. I see my family more. So the employees are really demanding and really requiring flexibility in their work. And as long as it did meet the production criteria during the pandemic, it's hard for the employer to say that there is no possibility to do work from home.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Exactly. If you've been able to prove that you can completely do your job, you can meet the expectations, meet your objectives, get it all done from your home office, why is the employer allowed to insist that you come back in? Because I would think the number one factor would be how well you're doing your job.
But for sure, and the thing is, if the person did prove that they did super well during the pandemic and did, meet all the requirements of the job and was super productive and performant, then the employer that decides to still bring back the employee full time at the office is really taking a risk that the person will resign and go to find another job. Right now it's very hard to find performant employees and employees that fit the job. So the employers are really in a delicate situation if they want to go to that path of bringing people full time. So most of them are really going for a hybrid, they call it. So 2 days at work or 3 days at work and the rest from home. So that's really what we are looking in the market right now.
And can this be can you seek some legal help if you're trying to get your employer to agree to a hybrid model, or no, it really is up to the employer to determine?
There's really no recourse, as I say. It's really recognized as being a management right. Okay. So it's really a matter of negotiating and trying to find just the right balance. I think employees have to also be reasonable and understand that the fact of not meeting ever their colleague in a week is not super productive in terms of working in a team. So it's important sometimes to have meetings in presence, and there's some upside to that, but does it have to be 5 days a week? Maybe not. Mm-hmm. So the employees have to stay flexible as well in the way they approach their employer.
Well, and I guess it all comes down to how badly they want you to stay in that job and how badly you yourself want to stay in your job, like what your priorities are. Marianne, do you think, the workplace has just changed so drastically? Like even now with us back in studio and stuff, it's just not the same. We used to be like a bustling, energetic place, and there was always something going on. It's changed so much here, and I can only imagine in other office environments what it's like now. Do you think it'll ever really go back to what it was like pre-COVID-19?
I think we're in a totally new world, environment. When it did happen, I remember we did talk at that time when everybody was sent home with their things to work fully at home, and it's just never going to go back. People have used and find alternative way of doing the work. And it is working in most of the cases. And when it doesn't work, well, the employer has to manage it. But most of the time, it does work. So at some point, people have to adapt. But for sure, I can see that there's a generation maybe conflict here, as older people that did work from the office their whole life.
Yeah.
It's hard for them. Maybe they're not as good in IT as well to do everything by themselves from remotely with their IT system. So it's harder maybe for that generation. As younger people did adapt, they love it. They see their kids more. They have a better work-life balance.
Yeah.
So for sure, there's a generation gap here.
Oh, for sure there is. Marianne, I thank you so much today, and thank you for all the great information you've given us since the beginning of the pandemic. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. That's Marianne Plamondon, an associate lawyer at Langlois Avocats here in Montreal. She specializes in employment and labor law.